Ah, yes. A podcast, a video, a piece of media content about other media. It's The Void, and that's what we do. I'm Grant. With me is Jack, the star of the show. Hey, Jack.
Hello, hello.
Okay, so you can see, you already know what we're talking about. Jurassic Park versus Jurassic World. This seems like an easy question. I assume that you're just clicking to hear, okay, well, obviously, Jurassic World is absolute garbage, and we all agree. And I don't think you're going to tell me that you think Jurassic World is better than Jurassic Park,
Oh,
are you?
I'm going to crap all over Jurassic World today, but not in the way you're expecting.
Huh?
So, yeah, we know. We know this is Jurassic Park. Great movie. I think it's the best movie ever made. Jurassic World lives in this nostalgia hellscape. But a few months ago, I was at a Ren Fair, as one does, and it was dress up day, and so you're encouraged to wear whatever costume you feel like wearing.
And you
And
dressed
so,
as a dinosaur.
alas, no, I do not own that lovely inflatable T-Rex costume. Put it on my Amazon
Yet.
wish list.
Yes. Dear listener, chip in. We're going to get the Jack to Dress Like a Dinosaur cosplay contest of 2023 happening. So you went to the Ren Fair dressed as what?
I was dressed as a Jurassic Park employee. I've got the shirt, I've got the short shorts, I've got the legs to pull it off.
Ooh.
But while I was sitting there eating my terrible turkey leg, some kids came up to me showering me in compliments, which was great. That's wonderful.
Hey, Mr. Jack, we like your legs. Those are great calves. Are those implants? Is that a real Jurassic Park shirt? Where do I get shorts that fit so well? Things like that, I assume.
Oh, yeah, lovely things like that. But after all that was said and done, one of the kids kind of turned to me and was like, "But Jurassic World's a better movie." I didn't really know how to respond to that. I think I said something a little condescending about how they were wrong back to them.
Yeah. Right. This is a infant, right? This is like a 3-year-old, a toddler.
This is like approaching double digits.
Okay.
Some level of sentience has been
Yeah.
achieved.
So maybe they're like, yeah, hey, Mister Jurassic World, that's the better movie. And you're saying that you responded with like, yeah, maybe if that's the only movie you've ever seen, you dumb piece of shit.
Nothing quite so vulgar, but
Okay.
let it be known that Jack does not swear at kids usually.
Okay. All right. I mean,
But
if you did, you'd be in fine company. Not that I listen. I don't either. I'm just saying, if some, I mean that's just like those are they're somewhat if they're not fighting words, it's the cause for argument because I think that you're probably ready to present the other side of the argument. But let's say that the kids are right, and you're the principal
No,
Skinner meme.
it's the children who are wrong.
so what I did, because this has just been a conversation that has just played on loop in my head for months, is I went, let's math this shit out. So I sat down and I made a metric. I decided to be like, what let's let's assign scores to events that can happen in a movie and whether or not a kid will like that. And I'm going to sit down and watch both movies and just plot out the score. So
Okay.
as I went on, I'm realizing I can't just present you a list of everything that happened in these movies. That would make for just a terrible 30 minutes of us sitting there talking. It wouldn't be 30 minutes of us sitting there talking. It would be 90 minutes of me reading a spreadsheet, which nobody wants. Nobody wants to experience that.
I'm curious to see the spreadsheet, but I'm also curious how one measures a kid's enjoyment.
Now, I sat down and talked with, I think, three different people about this, trying to kind of suss out what events make a kid happy, what events make a kid sad, what events make a kid scared. Are there things that can, like, change those moments? So here's what I landed on. Things that would be a positive score for a kid. One, the use of a cartoon sound effect. I assign that 1 point. Dinosaur on dinosaur violence. That also
Mhm.
gets 1 point.
Okay.
Visible childlike wonder. 1 point.
Okay. Is 1 point, is this golf scores? 1 point's the highest, or is it like numbers and 1 point's the lowest?
These are these are like golf scores, and you want your score to
Okay.
be high on this one. So it's
Wait, so
like,
that's the opposite of golf scores. A golf score, you want it to be low, right?
yeah, in golf you want it to be low. So when something good happens, your score goes up. When something bad happens, your score goes down.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So it's like, yeah.
So if a dinosaur does something cute, 1 point.
Okay.
If there is a joke that does not work, 1 point because kids love all jokes.
Okay.
A rated PG swear word gets 1 point. That is the dams
Yeah.
up to like bitch because that doesn't get censored on TV.
Yeah. And shit, which we established earlier, is a word that you don't say to children,
That
is a
is
word
correct.
that the Jurassic movies could say to children,
It is.
as long as they're accompanied by an adult if they are under the age of 13.
Rated R swear words are a minus 1 point. So the that's one big pile of shit ends up getting a minus point for children, according to my
But it's
metric.
such a good line.
But
It's
it's
such a
also
that's
it gets confusing because it's also a joke that lands, and a joke that lands is the
uh-huh.
next thing on my list, which is 4 points.
Oh.
And then we have if somebody escapes a dinosaur attack unharmed, that gets them a point. And if a human has a positive interaction with a dinosaur, that is worth 2 points. There's one final positive that I put in there, but it didn't end up happening in the movie. I was just feeling a certain way after the Mario movie replaced a bunch of the music with licensed songs. I put
Mm.
licensed song usage as +5, but thankfully neither of these movies use licensed music.
Okay. And what were the results of this possibly questionable you know, number heavy uh, I where does this go? Where how does this prove anything? I don't uh,
Oh,
shine the light in the darkness. I'm in the dark and confused.
we have minus points for things like violence that ends in death, jump scares, tension, dinosaurs visibly eating people, named characters dying, romantic subplots. So the numbers are always fluctuating throughout the movie. The final scores that we landed on, just to not bury the lead in any way, shape, or form, I guess, on this one, is that Jurassic World somehow managed to land on an absolute zero neutral. However, Jurassic Park landed at negative 89 points.
I wish I knew what that meant. I don't. I don't know. I assume 0 is better than negative 89.
Oh, it's much better.
Okay.
So this is why I was saying I didn't want to just sit here and read out everything that happens, because what happens is you read through this and you kind of start to understand a pattern in the way these movies were made that makes them appealing to kids versus makes them appealing to adults.
Aha.
So Jurassic World doesn't really treat the stakes, I guess, as actually genuinely dangerous in any scene. It plays with the violence. It's actually a more violent movie than Jurassic Park.
The things that I remember about Jurassic World, because I have not seen it since it came out in theaters, and I left the movie theater feeling quite angry at the movie that it took a movie that I really liked, which is Jurassic Park, and took its spirit and seemingly perverted it into worse than the Universal theme park ride interpretation or the video game on the Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo. It just seemed to miss the point entirely. But what I remember is like the pterodactyl eating, I think, Bryce Dallas Howard and
I don't believe that was
uh,
Bryce Dallas Howard, but I don't remember
who
the
am I?
actress's name.
Yeah, who am I thinking of?
It's
Is
you're
Bryce Dallas
thinking of
Howard
the
in the movie?
yes.
Okay, she
She
is the
plays the lead
yes.
uh, science marketing person. She's a marketing person.
Yes, right. You're right. She doesn't get eaten by it's like
Her
a
assistant
background.
gets just like a
Oh, okay.
horrible death.
Yes. Right, right, right. Yeah, and it is pretty brutal. Like it's very violent.
Yeah, this movie doesn't shy away from the violence. Like there are when the big Indominus Rex creature is taking out these SWAT teams, you have like they don't show it in focus, but in the background of these shots, you have people literally being turned into red mist as they get chomped down on. When the big bad of the movie, Vincent D'Onofrio's character, dies, we hang on a shot of a velociraptor biting his arm, and you see his arm break in the velociraptor's mouth. But the movie doesn't treat this with like, this is awful, this is terrifying, that it deserves. It treats this all as set dressing to more CGI action, which is where the genre difference in the two movies kind of comes into play. So, when I first watched Jurassic World, the main thing that went through my mind was, well, I guess it kind of just tried to remake Jurassic Park, but like, what if the park worked for a little while? I guess that's what it did.
Which is a premise that I thought was like interesting. It got me into the theater of, yeah, what if Jurassic Park was a successful franchise? What if they figured it out? What if the incident of the first movie was a outlier and they were able to basically make dinosaurs like zoo exhibits and then something went wrong? Okay, that's kind of interesting. And also, it's sort of I know you're gonna get to this in a moment, but like it was also of its time in a way in that Jurassic World was part of like the Star Wars sequels or Creed for Rocky, where it was like both a sequel and a reboot at the same time. So it was sort of kind of obviously part of the pitch to the general audience was like, yeah, we're sort of redoing Jurassic Park. But as you know, with the violence, it's uh, got more of a casual cruelty to it in its depiction of it, thinking that we want this video game CG violence and kind of missing the whole point and a lot of the character warmth and relationships and the dynamics of the first movie that make it so engaging and rewatchable. It's more than just dinosaurs are scary.
Well, there it is. You've really nailed it on the head there. The big difference is that you are never made to care about any of the characters in the world movie. They move from set piece to set piece and things happen to them or things happen around them. They never feel in any real genuine danger other than a couple moments, which results in this just being kind of a summer popcorn action flick. Whereas Park treats, once things go bad, Park is a straight up horror movie. You have spent your time, you've spent
Yeah,
your first hour of the movie, or what have you, establishing the characters, giving them distinct personalities, giving them motivations, giving them reasons to care about their survival. You know how everybody's connected with one another, you care about those connections. And then things go wrong, and they keep going wrong in such a way that the characters are never given a moment to breathe. So the tension is constantly building throughout the second half of the movie. And you're never given a chance to kind of come down and relax. And as such, a lot of this movie also takes place, a lot of Park's bad things take place at night, which for a child is always going to ramp up that fear factor. One of my little criteria was if something happens at night, double the point value associated with it.
because night is
It's
scarier to a
it's
kid.
scarier to a child. So things like when Gennaro gets eaten by the T-Rex, that's a scary moment. If it happened during the day, still scary, but not as scary.
I see. And so the negative point value that Park got through this methodology is because it's not as reined in. It's not feeling the rigidity of the genre. Like world safer. I think is that we like. World is imitating something, and Jurassic Park is creating a new thing. It's mixing different genre elements, horror, family movie, comedy, coming of age, and then Jurassic World is it's a copy. It's like just try. It's like, oh, okay, well, there was like a divorce and a family found thing in Jurassic in Park, so we should have some kind of equivalent family coming together story in World. Uh, it just seemed like it was imitating.
Yeah, it's like a bad Xerox copy that didn't understand what it was trying to copy.
Yeah, all form and no soul.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. Jurassic World, even during the happy sections of the movie, Jurassic World wasn't as happy. It doesn't establish the humor, the characters as well. Jurassic Park handled it outstandingly. For my bizarre point score system, before things go bad, Jurassic World was sitting at like about 10 points or something like that, and Jurassic Park was at like 40. That's how heavy the shift ended up being when things go wrong.
Interesting.
The moments where things are happy are almost entirely in the background in World. You see the ideas that the park is working. You see in the background, like, kids having fun with the park. The characters we're actually focusing on don't do anything of value or interest, whereas in Park, the characters we focus on do things of value, of interest, which might be a product of the fact that this is a movie coming out 17 years after the original or whatever it
Yeah.
was, where we are not sitting there going, holy shit, it's a dinosaur on the big screen. We already know.
Right.
We know going in that that's what's going to happen, which I think they tried to compensate for that with early in World. We're trying to train velociraptors, and this is one of those things where I genuinely think they were trying to appeal with kids with this movie, is that there are hero dinosaur characters in World,
Hmm.
which seems very bizarre because in Park, the dinosaurs are presented as straight up monsters. There is almost nothing good that happens in that movie that involves a dinosaur.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that I mean, I hadn't really thought of it, but yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like this was because there was okay, Jurassic Park. There were a huge amount of toys and other merchandise that kids could use to access the movie in a way. Like they may have gotten the toys first and then seen the movie later. And
I was going to say the merchandise is actually kind of an interesting angle I hadn't thought of.
well, what you're it just seems like it's a little more toyetic here, where they want the friendlier velociraptors or dinosaurs to maybe have it be a more kid friendly merchandisable thing. But at the same time, I feel like I can't really agree with that because the original Jurassic Park also had tons of toys, and kids were totally fine having antagonistic dinosaur toys with that. So I don't know.
Now, I think there's a difference in merchandising when you have and I guess the scariness factor and all that, when you have a child who is sitting in their bedroom with a T-Rex toy that makes sounds if you press the button, and then you can have it chase your little 5-inch Alan Grant toy, assuming that existed, uh, or whatever. The child is in control of the situation. And I think that can kind of give a little onus to the child to let them get out of that this is scary, this is bad environment, and
Hmm.
maybe even get past some of the fears they had in the movie of watching the kids trying to escape the velociraptors in the kitchen, or if they can recreate that scene on their own, maybe that helps them get past the fear or whatever. But that's getting into a little bit of a psychological argument that I don't know I'm prepared for.
That's always where I want to take it, though. That's always where I want to go with it. But yeah, I'm sorry. In world,
In World, there's definitely an aspect of this movie that I think was built with those ideas of merchandising in mind, because by the time the movie ends, there are multiple dinosaur characters that you are meant to root for.
Hmm.
Whenever I ask people, who was your favorite character in Jurassic World? Nobody answers Owen. Nobody answers Claire. Nobody answers whatever the hell the kids' names were. Everybody answers Blue the Velociraptor,
Hmm.
which, if that's not marketing to selling toys, I don't know what the hell it is.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like speaking to, yeah, what is the goal for each project and world was to establish a franchise, and to establish a franchise that wasn't dependent maybe on stars, although Chris Pratt is the star of, and I didn't even see the other one, Jurassic World. It's $1 billion grossing movie, Dominion.
So the next movie was Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and then that was followed by Dominion. Now, somehow all three Jurassic World movies are billion-dollar flicks.
um, should let the listener know if they haven't picked up on it already that I am a very casual fan of the Jurassic franchise, mostly just of Jurassic Park, and I haven't seen all of them, but I did see Jurassic World, and I think that kid at the Ren Fair, he needs to see a second movie, and that movie should be Jurassic Park, and he'll realize it's way more fun and satisfying, I think. But maybe not, because if you're going into the movie hoping to find a new dinosaur friend who you can imagine being your dinosaur buddy, Jurassic Park isn't that. Like you said, it's a horror movie. It's Alien. It's a monster movie, and that is what's cool about dinosaurs is that they're scary. It's so kind of, it is like a narcissistic thought of like, oh yeah, well, we would just these dinosaurs would be our friends. They'd be our pets. Why not? We'll just sort of and I mean that's the first movie. It's about how hubristic that is to tame the untamable, or to, sort of arrogantly assert. It's I mean the theme is stated perfectly. And I'm gonna remember the quote perfectly, won't I? Which is, scientists were so worried about if they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. It's something like that.
That's exactly the quote. But is that a message that resonates with a kid, or did they just see dinosaur theme park and then why isn't the dinosaur theme park working? Oh god, this movie's scary now.
Right. And is Chris Pratt in
Chris
three of
Pratt is
those?
the lead in all three of those movies, for better
Wow.
or worse. Um,
Well,
as the series, I guess, doing the very quick plot summary for you, as the series has worn on, they've leaned harder and harder into those some dinosaurs are heroes
mm,
concept.
yeah. Don't know how I feel about that, but don't love it. Don't love the sound of it.
I definitely am not a huge fan of that. The series worked best when it is humans versus dinosaurs and there are no real gray area.
What would you do to right the ship at this point? Is there any way to return to the glory of Jurassic Park, or do you think has the series lost its way and become a Land Before Time plus Chris Pratt? Is there is there any way to like find that right balance to being appealing to both the kids who want to see it on the simplest level and to adults looking for a very, satisfying cinematic experience?
I think there is a way to right that ship, but I think it involves almost multiple paths to get you there. So, along these lines, there are also now Jurassic Park television shows, which are these animated, kid friendly, kids go to camp and things go wrong on the island sort of things. Those are fine sticking in their lane and doing what they do. I think, should the series continue, it really does need to fully pull back to how do humans handle these sorts of crises where there is incredible unknowns, everything is going wrong, everything's out to get you. It really does need to pull back to the almost horror setting and kind of let
Yeah.
the two things exist in their separate lanes. As the child ages up, they can start to experience the more adult versions of the series. When I was a kid, my parents did not let me watch the second half of the movie. I got to watch the shoot her scene up to
Mm.
the point where the hurricane hits, and I was left into wonder for like 5 years what
Wow.
happens next.
Okay. Yeah. So this was something that was really, percolating in your mind. This is something you were
And it
wondering about.
shattered my expectations.
Yeah. I mean, really though, like it would. And okay, so what were some of the like big you mentioned a few, but like what were some of the biggest point differential moments or maybe just different moments, surprising moments and how they came out in this calculation and what surprised you the most?
What surprised me the most, I think, is that once things go bad in the park and world, I was expecting the score to plummet a lot further. As we have moments of tension, but they're resolved very quickly. And world has almost no jump scares. I remember Park is just filled with jump scares over and over and over again. You are constantly, the second you think you're starting to come down from things, jump scare. I counted 3 jump scares in the entirety of World, which
Mm,
was very surprising. And I think 2 of them happen in like rapid succession.
yeah.
It's a sequence where Claire, which is Bryce Dallas Howard's character, is driving like an ambulance or something, and they're being chased by a pack of velociraptors. And you have a jump scare with one of the velociraptors jumping through the driver's side window that Claire is in, but it's resolved in like half a second, so you don't even really think about it after that. And shortly before that, when they drive off, you get a bloody handprint that smacks against the window while they're sitting there relaxing.
Right. I remember that.
I guess I was expecting once the violence in the park starts to happen in World, I was really expecting things to go downhill so much faster because you have a park full of 20,000 people. But very few of the visitors in that sequence actually get hurt. You see pterodactyls dive bombing this crowd, but like maybe 3 background actors get like picked up. You spend more time on like a shot where a pterodactyl is trying and failing to pick up a baby triceratops than you do with actual harm happening to people. And that shot ends up being a joke that lands because it's very funny watching that try and happen.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Whereas in Park, I wasn't expecting it to be so happy in the beginning because there's not that much interaction with dinosaurs. There's not that much childlike wonder. You just have really sharp writing and a lot of very good jokes. It's stunning going back and forth between these two movies. The canyon of a difference in the writing quality of these two movies. That was the biggest surprise to me. I started with World when I did this. I was like, okay, that was fine. And then I go to Park and just, oh my God, the difference.
Yeah. And you're definitely going to link to this full Excel sheet, right, for the listeners and for myself to be able to comb
Oh,
through
yeah.
it and enjoy this madness.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There is one point where I break my own scoring system.
Okay, what's that point?
That point is at the end of World. I originally had this marked as a negative, but I was talking with my partner about it, and they were like, "No, that's a positive thing." Which is at the end of the movie, you have this pack of velociraptors attack the Indominus, and they're losing the fight. They don't know what to do, and I'm marking this as like negatives because you have what appears to be velociraptors getting killed, and you don't like dinosaur death, and then the T-Rex shows up and starts trying to help, and eventually the mosasaur kills the Indominus, and I'm sitting there marking that. Well, dinosaur death, according to my thing, is a negative, but because the Indominus is presented as the movie's villain, it's the death of the villain.
Mm,
So it becomes a positive, which brought Jurassic World to its 0 score.
okay. Well, I'm not sure what I'm convinced of, but I am convinced that you're not going to find good Jurassic Park opinions from people at the Ren Fair unless they're dressed like a Jurassic Park employee.
I think that's a pretty safe assumption. I think I dove in a little too deep, and I ended up wading in the muck and coming out with something that I think is interesting.
I think so. I guess my final question, which is sort of the final question that we are usually asking here, which is like, why does this matter? You know, what? How does this? Is it that dinosaurs are cool? Is it that dinosaurs are cool, but we need more? Is it I was young and impressionable, and this made a mark? What is it that is filling the void for you with thinking about Jurassic Park's place in cinematic the cinematic canon or even just the its own franchise?
Well, obviously, I have my extremely strong opinion about Jurassic Park. Greatest movie ever made. But what fills my mind through this is, what if I saw World first?
Yeah.
Would I like World more, even if I saw Park? And how does that baseline shift over the years? Is there going to be 10 years from now, I'm now going to be a crotchety old man going, Jurassic Park's the best movie ever made? And there's going to be some 10-year-old kid who's like, no, Jurassic World 8, Dinosaurs in Space, to steal from TikTok, is the greatest movie ever made. And then I have to reconcile with that.
Yeah. Well, you're saying objectively, according to the metrics, Jurassic World is better. That the kids are right for kids.
I suppose sort of proves my thesis, but I don't like that it proves my thesis because it means
What is your thesis again? Your thesis is that Jurassic World is more appealing to kids than Jurassic Park.
that is correct.
Okay. Yeah. Um all right. You know, maybe. I guess I would say maybe because our sample size is one cuz you said multiple kids were complimenting you, but
Yes.
only one kid said Jurassic
Um,
World.
only one kid said that. He had a friend who agreed,
All
but
right.
only one kid said it out loud.
But they were all yeah, but they were all thinking it. You could
You're
tell
giving you're
like
giving me hope, man. You're giving me hope.
yeah. So I'm just saying like maybe that kid was like he joined the rest of the kids and they were like, "Were you just saying the Jurassic World is better? Get out of here." But listen, I mean, the one of the Chris Pratt movies is, you know, the movies have always made a lot of money, these Jurassic Park movies. One of them has made substantially more. And it's so you know, maybe it's right that that kids like it more, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the kids are right overall.
Now, if we want to talk pure finances, Park is a $1 billion movie. It took like 4 re-releases to get there, but it
Oh,
is
okay.
a $1 billion movie.
All right. Thank you. Good to know. Good clarification. So is but and it adjusted for inflation, parks be would Jurassic Park be the highest grossing, or does that belong to Dominion?
I believe it still belongs to Dominion, even adjusted for inflation, which I'm not fact checking that right now, so somebody in the comments fact check that and tell me I'm wrong and make me a happy camper.
Well, you know, as you look at the spreadsheet, I think one quote above all comes to mind. You were so concerned if you could put together this thesis and the proof that you didn't stop to think if you should. And the answer is yes, you should have, because it led to this. So thank you for that. And thanks for listening. Right? What if we ended something like that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. There's more edit points in here than I was expecting, but whatever.
I think that last thing that you just said should stay in. That's the only thing that I feel very strongly about. We got to keep a little. I want to keep a couple of those loose threads in, so that they know what's what.
This has been The Void. The Void is Jack and Grant. The intro and outro music is True North by Talk Time. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, leave a review on your podcatcher choice, and most importantly, thank you for listening.